Oh, what a great way to start a Tuesday morning! We've got two classic lever action rifles and a hot cup of coffee. Now, here's the big question. Is there much difference between this Marlin Model 336 and this Marlin Model 1894? Stick with us and we'll find out. Hi, George here, and welcome to Tales from Target Suite, where I'll share my perspective on guns and shooting, and we'll spend some time at the range. And every now and then we'll reconvene out back in my shop or at the farm in Louisiana, where I'll build some fun projects and we'll share an adventure or two that'll make even a grown man smile. You know, you may not be as familiar with the history of the Marlin firearms as you are that of the Winchesters or the Henrys, because they've become so popular on YouTube. But let me just say that Marlin was a major player in firearms technology development in the late 1800s. In fact, we give a lot of credit to John Moses Browning, the Winchester 1886 45-70 combination, and rightly so, but it was actually Marlin that introduced the first practical lever action rifle that could fire the 45-70 government round, and they call that the Model 1881. And then in 1893 they introduced a new design. And it had a stronger bolt, an additional safety feature, and you're asking me, what does that have to do with what we're talking about today? Well, let me just say that the Model 1894 that we're looking at right here and that we're going to talk about more is actually a scrunched up version of that Marlin Model 1893. So what's the connection between the Marlin Model 1894 and the Marlin Model 336? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First, we'll give you a flyover of both rifles so you can see how different they are, and then we'll take them apart and see what they look like on the inside. I think you'll be surprised. Before we do any flying, let me just say, if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to fix a black eye that a lot of these Marlin rifles have. What is it? Well, you'll just have to stick around and find out. And what was I going to say? Oh yes, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And then YouTube says if you click on that little bell, you'll get notified every time I upload a new video, usually on Tuesday. So let's get back to doing some flying. So apart from the obvious difference that the Model 336 on the bottom has a pistol grip and the Model 1894 on the top has a straight grip, the Model 336 has a solid receiver and a round bolt. And the Model 1894 has a square bolt and the receiver is cut all the way to the back. So the path to the Marlin Model 336 is a little bit indirect. It certainly has its roots in the Model 1893, but the 1893 was in production until 1936, when it was slightly redesigned and became the Marlin Model 36. The Marlin Model 36 lasted for another 12 years until it was retired and the Marlin Model 336 was introduced. And the Marlin Model 336 is quite a bit different. And we've seen that on the exterior with the solid frame and the round bolt. But the connection is internal, and we're fixing to look at that. And if you're wondering, I left my cradle at the farm. So there you have it. The Marlin Model 336, the Marlin Model 1894. And aside, as you can see, aside from the fact that the Marlin 336 now has a solid receiver, which adds a lot of strength and allows it to venture way into the high pressure centerfire rifle smokeless powder realm, it retains the DNA of the Marlin Model 1893. Shares the same DNA as the Marlin Model 1894. In fact, the only substantial difference between the two rifles, beside the fact that this has a solid receiver instead of the cut, is the round breech bolt. And the round breech bolt is much easier to manufacture than this really complex square billet piece of steel. Now, I'm going to get somebody to put all this back together. Don't know who that's going to be. And we're going to talk about the black eye of the Marlin rifles. And there it is. See that black eye right there? That is not supposed to be black like that. That is supposed to look like this. There it is. That is a trademark of the Marlin rifles since, I believe, 1922. And they fall out of so many vintage rifles, including this one and this one. And so I'm going to show you how to replace them. Now, somewhere along the line, somebody thought that they would just install a sling swivel where that bullseye used to be. And in so doing, they crushed the wood around that hole. And so before we can do anything else, I need to get the wood around that hole swelled back up to its original profile, and then we can proceed with installing a new bullseye. All it's going to take is a little bit of water and the judicious application of some hot iron. Now, it took several tries to get that wood swelled up where it needed to be. I didn't want to be too aggressive and ruin the finish, and so we probably tried this about 4 times, and it finally brought everything back where it needed to be. Okay, I got ahead of myself because I forgot to turn on the camera, but this one is already installed. This is the Marlin 336 buttstock, the one that we had to do the work to get the wood swelled up around the hole. But let me tell you what I did. Because I used the water, I had the wood around here swelled up even after drying a couple of days, and so I had to drill it out back to its original size. But just like on this one, this is the Marlin 1894 buttstock. All you really need to do is to get in there and clean out the old glue. And you can do that with the proper size drill bit, being real careful and doing it by hand. Otherwise, you stand the chance of splintering the wood around the hole and ruining your finished product. So once you get the glue out, then it's simply a matter of putting in a drop of glue, or maybe 2. Get it started. And tap it home. There. Now, I'm going to take some painter's tape, and I'm going to put painter's tape all around that hole so that it protects the finish while we do our filing. So let me do that off camera. Okay, now the painter's tape is going to let me do all of the gross filing to get this basically down to the level I need it to be, and then we'll take the tape off and touch up down to its final profile. Now, once I start scraping the tape, I'll know that I'm getting close. Well, that's pretty close, just like it is. We're going to touch it up just a little bit. That was a very light steel wool. There it is. Black eye turned into a bullseye.